How many times have you picked up your phone and you didn't realize you picked up your phone? Think about it. Many times a day, our hands go to it because we're in this cycle of, I guess I can use the word addiction, small a, not big A, but we really are addicted. And we're trying to mitigate how that addiction really does control our life, our productivity, our happiness. We're going to talk today about your ideas about how you keep from your hand going into the candy jar every 5 seconds, and what it means for you to have your power back over the technology that has come to control you, maybe. I'm going to read something from a website that belongs to Unplug, which is a new device to help us unplug. It says, we live in the attention economy, where your time is taking the place of money. Unplug empowers you to take control of how you spend your time with the tech devices in your life. We want you to enjoy life more calmly, joyfully, and mindfully. We want you to have more time to focus on what's meaningful to you. Okay, we do too. We want that, right? How do you do that? I want to hear from you. I want people to talk about how they control their relationship to their device. We're going to kick this off with a conversation with co-founder of Unplug, Tim Smits, because he's in it. He's in the conversation. He's creating products, a particular product called Unplug that helps us literally not get to the stuff that we feel addicted to. And I'm fascinated by the fact that this is both an app, but it's also a little toggle, a little key that you can hold and you have to have in order to open up apps that you say, keep me away from that app. So this is really about our physical relationship to the apps that are sucking us in and sucking life out of our souls. Tim, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to have a really robust conversation with you and the community. I'm really feeling the pain of a lot of people these days because people definitely say, oh, I'm so addicted, I'm so addicted, I'm so addicted. And sometimes I think we're addicted to the addiction in some respects. How did you come to build the team that you have? What was the big trigger point for all of you to say, we think we can put this out there and make a change in the world and help people enjoy innovation, enjoy apps, but not to the detriment of their focus and their mental health? When did this whole story begin for you? And let us know what's going on with you right now in terms of your enthusiasm for it. And then we're going to kick this up and see who gets involved in the conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Deborah, thanks for the introduction, and it's great to be here on my first Swell. I think this is an interesting format, and I just listened to your audio message, and yeah, let me get into it. So, I'm Tim, I'm one of the co-founders of Unplug, and yeah, basically I started Unplug together with one of my co-founders because we got distracted by our smartphones during studying. On the one hand, I was mindlessly checking my phone when I actually wanted to work, and obviously almost after the fact, I thought, could I have spent this time better? Or I was watching YouTube videos until 1 a.m. in the night and actually regretted not taking enough time to sleep. So these points started to build up, and during a course in university, we decided to try to tackle this problem because I have a background in interaction design. One of my co-founders had a background in programming and computer science. So because of that, we started to think about a solution to this problem. We both suffered from it, and we even started to look around us and asked a lot of our friends and students, and we found out most people kind of have a love-hate relationship with our smartphones. This really helped us to identify a core problem where our smartphones on the one hand have so much useful functionality like our calendar, our phone, our camera, our notes, maybe even information like podcasts or stuff like Swell. But on the other side, there are so many distracting aspects to our phone, like social media, games, and dating apps, that a lot of time don't really add a lot of value and keep on sucking our time and attention. And with Unplug, our mission was to break those two apart, to be able to get a hold of and regain control of how we spend our time and attention. So that's part of the origin story. We actually started Unplug right when the pandemic started in the beginning of 2020, and we only saw this problem increase over time, where screen time was becoming higher and higher, and also TikTok was on a rise, which even boosted the algorithmic and problematic overuse of social media, because the algorithm of TikTok is so well designed that it's even more addictive and it's even harder to stop scrolling. So that's a short introduction of how Unplug got started. On the one hand, I'd be super interested to hear your own experience with distracting apps. What are some of your most distracting apps, and how do you try to deal with it? I can also share from me. For example, I used to scroll a lot on Reddit or watch a lot of YouTube videos. On the one hand, that sometimes gave me interesting ideas, but a lot of times I found them to be kind of meaningless. And in the end, I thought, I could spend this time better. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and excited to get this conversation started. I'm also curious about any listeners in the audience that want to share what's their most distracting app, and if they've already tried to mitigate that with any life hacks or habit changes themselves.
Tim, thanks so much for the origin story and for continuing this conversation with such great leadership and great questions. I just want to make a side note about how I admire when a person sees a problem and tries to solve it. I know that sounds basic, but it's actually, most people don't. They just see a problem and they kind of turn the corner and try to move on and not innovate. And I think it's just so admirable. I think when you describe TikTok, it's what most people suffer from, is the unseen algorithms that are so, in such a stealth way, contributing to their addiction. I don't have TikTok, so I don't know TikTok. I know my behavior on Instagram, which I really limit. But our dependency on connecting through our devices is really fascinating to me. I'm on my device between 10 and 13 hours a day sometimes because of the work I do. I think my eyes suffer, and so do my hands sometimes. But what doesn't suffer is this sense of the world at my fingertips and the glory of that, and having so many options and being on this control center of apps. And there's this new orientation I think all of us have, that the world is at our fingertips, and that perception is so distorted, because what's really the world is going outside and planting some food and eating the food and having more, being more primal. So I look at that as our next challenge. It's like when we innovate with technology to help us with technology, there's this loop. And I'm sure you're confronted by this in a very profound way, which is that your app is another app, even though it's the app of purpose and of kind of getting us back to our metaphorical soil. Because my behavior, and to answer your question, is one of deep, sort of disappointment in how we've evolved as a human species. But I'm not fighting it, because it's just my world. But I do think the fight is important. From your perspective, where does Unplug and your work fit into the cycle of media literacy? In schools, people have limitations. Teachers have locked apps that kids can't get into if they're giving them their Chromebook or their iPad. Do you feel like you have a place in the ecosystem of education to teach kids at a very young age about a product like Unplug so they can take responsibility? It's like almost like saying, don't drive while drunk. Don't use your phone without a product that's going to help you be safe with it.
Hello. Continuing this conversation after a bit, I was very busy, but here I am. So if I think Unplug has a place in teaching younger children to reduce their screen time and find a better balance, I think Unplug does. However, at the moment we are focusing on people from starting around age 20 that did find themselves the awareness of the fact that these apps are getting more and more distracting and themselves want to change, because in the end Unplug is just a tool, a set of guide rails indeed that can help you, but the change of wanting to change your behavior still needs to come from the person themselves. And the younger you go, the less likely it is that these people or children are aware of the fact that this is a problem for them. However, recently I got an email from a man mentioning that his 13-year-old son was happily using Unplug because he figured out that TikTok was distracting him too much. So it's already being used by parents that don't want to completely restrict their children's screen time by using parental control applications. They choose to have a different approach where they let the children guide themselves, which is, I think, in the end, also the better way to help people to change their behavior. Not by fully restricting, but by giving controls to the individual themselves. So I really loved that example. And yeah, next to that, Adam, also thanks for your thoughts and reply. I love the idea of seeing Unplug as kind of an extension of your immune system, of your attention. And the other analogy of guide rails is also very fitting. So Unplug is there to really help people make better decisions of how to spend their time and attention, which is becoming increasingly more important and important. And I do want to hear as well from others how they think about the fact that it's more and more difficult to be keeping your attention. Some say attention is even the new currency, or attention and time, right? So curious to hear your thoughts about that. And it's great to talk here. Hey Adam. Interesting question. And while I don't have any data on that, I do notice that in general people seem to be more ready to use solutions like Unplug in the US. So that's definitely interesting, because my theory is that it's more in the news and more in the public debate in the US. The problems of social media overuse, and TikTok, for example, is in the news a lot recently. And Facebook has been, obviously, for the past couple of years. But I don't have any insights on usage differences in between those continents. But I was also interested to hear if there's any tools that help you to reduce screen time, and if any other people still want to join in the conversation, ask me any questions about how Unplug started, digital well-being in general, why we think it's important, etc. I'm here. Alright, goodbye.